Are you still bombarded with fears and doubts? Questioning will separation ever end? Is union even possible? Is this even real, or are you going crazy? Well, you're not going crazy, and you just have to trust. Trust in your path, trust in your twin flame, but trust in yourself. If you're doing the work, then so are they. So you just have to have patience and trust in divine timing and the inevitability of your connection. My name is Angela Cleary. I'm a feminine empowerment coach. I specialise in healing after narcissistic abuse, and I also offer twin flame and spiritual guidance. The doubts and the fears and those obsessive thoughts, how do we stop them? Well, we heal ourselves first. That's the main objective. And in overcoming our own healing, we can start to trust our path. Because at the end of the day, if you are doing the work, then so is your twin. This is something that we forget. And I know this is a hard journey. It's the biggest roller coaster you'll ever ride. But it is worth it. And you'll realise, okay, when we're in separation, we do get frustrated. We get angry towards our twin. We get triggered. This is a guide to our own healing. But we're constantly in this fear. Are we going crazy? Is this even real? The 3D is showing us that it's not, or that it's delayed. And the 5D, we know the truth. But it's hard to trust our intuition when we've got the external feeding us with doubts. But we can overcome these doubts when we just concentrate on ourselves. When we take our energy back, take our power back, take our healing into our own hands, stop trying to put our energy towards our twin, that's when things will start to calm down. That's when that inner knowing will come. You know, if we're not trusting our twin to do the work, then how are we even trusting ourselves? You know, the way I see it is expectation does create reality. So if you're in the 5D, or even if you're speaking community, in the 3D, and, chasing them, kind of nagging them as to why they're not doing the work, or if they're doing the work, that's going to push them further away. And if you're there sitting there expecting them not to do the work, they can feel that energetically. If you tell somebody that they're not good at something, or if they're not good enough to do something, that's going to reflect back. And you mightn't say that to them physically, but they can feel that energetically. They can feel your fears and they can feel your doubts. And this will delay things even further, because we go through a massive amount of unworthiness on this journey. And if we're already feeling like we're not good enough for this love, and then we feel our twin flames energy telling us that we're not good enough to do the healing, that's going to reflect back and delay the healing. So if we're expecting our twin flame to let us down, on top of their own unworthiness wound, they're going to feel worse. And that is going to delay things, and I've seen this so many times, if you tell somebody that they're not good enough, they're literally going to give you the results that you expect. So we have to change our energy towards our twin flame. But how do we do that? We change our energy towards ourselves, because if you don't trust your twin flame, you're effectively not trusting yourself. And are you doing the work? We keep asking why they're not choosing us, but are you choosing yourself? They're not choosing themselves, you're not choosing yourself. And how do you choose yourself? You do your own inner work. You start from within. The only way we can actually work out the external is by working out the internal. And that is by trusting in yourself, trusting in your path, and trusting in your twin flame. And the one thing that has helped me is that surrender. We come into the surrender. All that we have is this now moment. Yes, we're healing stuff from our past, but all we have is now. If we're constantly worried about the past and the future, we're disrupting the now. And it will delay things because, as I said, expectation creates reality. So if you're in fear, you're going to attract what you fear. But if you're in high hopes, you're going to attract what you hope or what you strive for. So it all still boils down to you. We constantly are looking outside. We're out looking outside ourselves for them to validate us, for them to reassure us, for them to, give us that confirmation that this is real. But that confirmation can only come from within. It's the soul remembrance. I've said this already. Your souls have made a promise between each other to fight for each other, to look for each other, to fight for each other, to do everything it takes to be in union again. You have to trust this. And, I knew this. From all the research I've done, I knew that there was that promise. That promise was there. But it's only in the last month or so that I've actually started to remember that promise. And I kind of, it gave me the chance to surrender, really. Because I went from being fearful that they weren't going, like, I think it was more, it always comes down to the insecurities, our own insecurities. You know, I was projecting an expectation towards my twin that he wasn't going to do the work. I was in fear that he would choose someone else. I was in fear that I wasn't good enough. This still comes down to me. We're putting those questions externally towards our twin, but in actual fact, they have to come internally. It's my wound, my insecurities, my unworthiness that makes me feel this way. But when I build up that wound, or when I heal that wound, and when I build up my self-worth, I don't feel that anymore. I don't feel like I'm not good enough anymore. And that's where we have to come to. That's how we find that trust, is in healing what we feel within ourselves. Knowing that our twin is choosing us, but they need to choose themselves first. And that's why the delays are there. And, we can feel like we're being punished. Why are they ghosting? They're not ghosting, they're processing. If you're, like, you've gone through your spiritual awakening, you know what that's like. You know that you need isolation and you need space, because it's a very, very difficult journey to go through. And all the choices that we have to make, all the decisions that we have to make on this journey are difficult. And they just need space. We need to hold more compassion towards our twin flame. I know the behavior mightn't be the healthiest of behaviors, but every time they do something, it activates more healing. And this is where we need compassion, but we also need gratitude. Because every time we're triggered, means that we have something that we can release, which brings us closer to union. This is the thing. The more we are tired of healing. We are. It's an ongoing journey, and it does get exhausting. It's this one thing after another after another. But I've come to learn. I've come to love my triggers, because it means I get one more layer gone. We're healing in layers, and we're not just healing this lifetime. We're healing past lifetimes as well. And every layer makes us more receptive to love. And that's the most beautiful thing, really, is that we're becoming more receptive to love. And I think the wound that we're going through at the moment is the fear of being seen, the fear of opening up. That's the energy we're in right now, is we're still in this bubble of protection. You see, that's the thing. We might be questioning why our twin is still running, or why our twin is still blocked, but so are we. We're still afraid of love. We're still afraid to let love in. We're still afraid to let our guard down. And that's what our twin is going through as well. We're all collectively going through that wound. What if we let our guard down and we get hurt again? But we can't repeat the past if we continue to do our healing. And that's the most important thing here. But one of the things that we have to learn to do as well is have patience. Not just patience with your twin, but patience with yourself as well. We're always kind of reaching to be at the next step. We want to be 10 steps ahead. We want to get this healing done. But we have to be patient with ourselves through it. Healing is it needs to be a self-nurturing process. If we're trying to rush through things, we're going to I suppose, lose our spot in a sense. We're going to end up skipping over things. We're going to miss things, and then we're going to have to come back and do it again. But if you slowly have patience with yourself and nurture yourself through the healing process, then we can get things done actually a lot quicker. If we're rushing to the end, we're not going to get to where we need to be. And we're just going to have to come back around in the circle again. The cycles will continue to repeat until we heal the lesson, or we learn the lesson. So how do we do this? Ask yourself those questions. What are you feeling? Where is this pain coming from? And have compassion towards yourself and towards your twin. If you're going through stuff, so are they. And we all go through these phases of, we might have communication, or we might have contact, or we might see them in the 3D. And we're on this high, and then where we think union is about to happen. And then all of a sudden, the high just comes crashing down, and we're hit with more stuff to heal. But this is so important. This is guidance. Like, we're questioning why separation is still there. We're questioning why they're still running. We feel that we're ready, and yet they're not. But we're not ready. You know, if you've got something else to heal, it means you're not ready. You know, and don't get me wrong, when we get into union with our twin, there will be more to heal in union. Healing is continuous. But there is certain aspects that you're going to have to heal first before union can happen. And, you know, with this unworthiness wound, this fear of opening up, this fear of being seen, we have these walls around our heart. And how are we supposed to be able to give or receive love if we're still blocked? So that's the thing, where we're the ones, like, as I said, we're constantly asking why our twin isn't doing the work, why our twin isn't doing this, why our twin is running. But this is a reflection of you. What are you still hiding from? What do you still need to heal? What do you still need to face? And this is so important. You know, and I've gone through this over the last couple of weeks. Like, you know, I saw my twin a couple of weeks ago, and, you know, the first week I was fairly good. I was actually, you know, the best I've been for a long time. And then a lot of triggers came in connected to my past and my fear of being seen. And, you know, I'm in the depths of the healing, and I'm like, yeah, okay, now I know I was still in separation, because I need time to heal as well. And then me being in the depths of my despair or my healing can make me more compassionate towards my twin flame, because then I'm like, okay, if I'm going through some shit, then so is he. So, you know, instead of being angry towards him for not responding or for not taking action, I have to be more compassionate to the fact that if I'm going through stuff, so is he. And as I've already said, like, we've already gone through our spiritual awakening. Oh, well, it's still happening, but we're still going through that awakening, and we know what it's like. We know how hard it has been, and we've had a longer time to do it. Our twin flame is going through an awakening in a shorter space of time, and it's accelerated. And if we're, like, you know, I said this before I met my twin, I'd done a lot of healing. I'd already been on the roller coaster ride. And I genuinely was like, oh, this will be easy. It's not easy, you know what I mean? And it was nearly worse, because I had so many heart activations throughout the space of time that I met my twin in the physical. And I'm still going through stuff. Like, my most recent dark night of the soul was, I think, between February and June, and I didn't even realize I was going through it till it was over. You know, so there's a constant healing cycle going on. And, you know, even this week or the last couple of weeks, I've been going through another healing cycle. And as I said, I'm aware of this. I'm aware of my healing. I'm aware of my growth. I have time and energy to face what I'm going through. But oftentimes our twin flame is still stuck in the matrix, and they actually don't have the time or space to do the healing as quickly as we do. And they're still surrounded by a lot of 3D people. And, you know, they might be getting advice from the wrong people as well. Whereas when we're on this journey, when we're the more awakened twin, we start to realize who we speak to or who not to speak to. You know, because if we're speaking, like I've seen this with myself and with clients as well, is that, you know, they're asking the people in their environment for advice, and they're actually told they're crazy, and, you know, no one actually understands any of it. And yet, you know, I think that's the energy our twin flame could be in at the moment as well, is that they're still surrounded by people who do not understand what's going on. And when you're in that isolation, it can be so difficult. And I know all we want to do is reach out to our twin and actually help them with this, but we have to let them get there on their own. We have to let them go through their own healing as well. So what we can do is be more compassionate towards ourselves, but be more compassionate towards your twin flame as well. Understand that they're going through a lot of stuff as well. And just remember the promise that you made between your souls. You know, and if you're doing the work, so are they. You know, your twin flame is a reflection of you. You know, and, you know, if you're not doing the work, they're not doing the work. But if you are doing the work, that's going to reflect back in them as well. So if you, like, your twin is you. So if you trust yourself, if you're choosing yourself, if you're doing that work and that healing, so are they. So it's safe to trust them, and it's safe to trust your path. This is going to happen, and it is happening in divine timing, but it is inevitable. And that's something we need to start to trust. And be patient. That's one of the hardest lessons we learn on this journey, is to how to be patient. Patient with yourself and patient with your twin. Healing is a slow process, but it's a gradual process. But trust in it in the unfoldment of everything. Trust that you are both heading in the same direction. You're both heading towards each other. It just might be a little bit different right now. You know, you might be a couple of steps ahead, or they might be a couple of steps, behind or whatever. But you're both heading in the same way, and there's not that much of a delay now. Your twin flame is catching up to you. Separation will get shorter the more that you do the inner work. So trust in what you feel within. And when you do that work as well, that 3D chatter will disappear. Those doubts will disappear, and you can go into surrender mode where you will actually be able to trust the process, trust your twin flame, and trust in yourself. If you are doing this hard work, so are they. So be kind to yourself and be kind towards them. Send them good energy and send yourself good energy. Because effectively, if you're frustrated with them, you're frustrated with yourself. If you're angry with them, you're angry with yourself. So send them love and compassion, and send yourself love and compassion as well. It is a slow process, but it is happening. So trust in your twin and trust in your path. So thank you so much for listening today, and I really hope this resonates. If it does, please like and share, and please subscribe to my channel so I can reach as many people as possible. And if you'd like help on your journey, please book me for a free discovery call today, and I'll do nothing more than to help you on your path. Also, I'm hosting a free webinar on Friday the 12th of September at 6 p.m. Ireland UK time. I'll be speaking on inner child healing, which is actually really good for our unworthiness wound. So if you want any information, just comment below. Also, I have a new channel called Aligning with Angie, where I'll be sharing a guided meditation once a week. The information for that is in the description box.